he plays, the more his value diminishes.
Yeah.
And his legacy. It gets tainted.
And I agree with OP. The longer this goes, the more his legacy gets diminished, because the more he expects people to look at him or view him the same as they did 10, 15 years ago. And he's not that player anymore.
The Lakers might have already closed the book on the LeBron James chapter long before the rest of the league even noticed. For months now, the biggest talking point around the NBA has stayed the same. Where does LeBron go next? But what if we've all been focused on the wrong part of this story? What if the real headline isn't that LeBron wanted to leave, but that the Lakers had quietly already begun planning for life without him?
But the Lakers
But
now.
what did I say? The Lakers are going to be like, really now? Well, we're going to hold your son hostage.
That conversation gained even more traction after former Lakers head coach Byron Scott weighed in. He wasn't questioning LeBron's ability or diminishing anything he's accomplished throughout his career. Instead, he pointed to something bigger unfolding behind the scenes. Scott's take was that once the Lakers made the decision to build their future around Luka Doncic, LeBron's time in Los Angeles was already heading toward its natural conclusion. Rather than force a messy, public breakup, the organization may have simply let things unfold on their own. If Scott's read on the situation is correct, this wasn't some sudden, last-minute call. It may have been a long-term strategy that came together gradually over time. And once you start lining up the timeline of events, a lot of pieces begin falling into place.
Bring up the Bronny thing with Cleveland. So what's more important to LeBron today? Is it winning another championship, playing with his son, or finishing off his legacy?
None of that. The championship already out the window. He's not going to catch anybody, whoever it was. He's not going to catch Kobe. He's not going to catch Jordan. He damn sure ain't catching Bill Russell. Okay? This is about controlling narrative. That's all it is. It's come down to.
LeBron's impact on the Lakers started the moment he signed, before he'd even played a single game for them. Ticket demand skyrocketed, jersey sales went through the roof, and almost overnight, the Lakers were back at the center of the basketball world. A year later, the team traded for Anthony Davis, won an NBA championship, and re-established themselves as a top contender in the league. Whatever side of the LeBron debate you're on, there's no denying the impact he had. He helped restore the Lakers as championship contenders and kept them relevant for years. But even the strongest partnerships eventually reach a crossroads. NBA franchises can't afford to make decisions purely on emotion. Their job is to think years down the road, sometimes 5 or even 10 years ahead. Part of that means recognizing the right moment to transition from one era to the next, because waiting too long to make that shift can stall an entire franchise's momentum.
I damn near want to agree with you, but I don't.
So you think he can still get one?
No, I didn't say that either.
Okay.
You said it was three. There was three scenarios.
Yeah, 3 scenarios I gave you.
And the winning the championship,
Winning
one is
championship,
out.
playing with his
I think
son.
that's out the window.
Finish his career and
He's already
legacy.
played with his son.
He played with his son already. So it might be the latter. I just don't think that at his age right now, what he's been able to accomplish in this league, and I agree with OP, the longer this goes, the more his legacy gets diminished, because the more he expects people to look at him or view him the same as they did 10, 15 years ago. And he's not that player anymore. You know, so you got to really find out what's important to him at this particular time. I mean, we can all talk about the love of the game and that you're going to continue to play until, you know, they take that jersey off of you. But at some point in time, you don't also want to go out with it being tainted. You know what I'm saying? And that's where he's kind of getting into that gray area.
That's exactly why bringing in Luka Doncic changed the entire equation. This wasn't just about adding another star to the roster. The Lakers landed one of the league's premier young franchise cornerstones. Luka isn't the type of player you build around for a single season. He's the kind of talent teams hope to build a decade-long era around. And that shifts everything about how a front office approaches decision-making. Instead of focusing on how to maximize LeBron's remaining time, the priority naturally turns toward maximizing Luka's prime years. From that point forward, every contract, every trade, every draft pick, and every roster move starts getting filtered through that new long-term vision.
in another championship. Period.
But hypothetically, like you said,
unless he pulls a Patrick Ewing, you know, get a ring as an ambassador for a team. Congratulations, Pat, by the way. Oh, yeah, because he got the coaching job.
Assistant coaching job.
He just got the job.
But he's not winning another ring.
I'm agree with OP on that. I just don't see in a scenario right now where he can go to a team that has a chance to win a championship.
Byron Scott believes that's the point where the signs became too obvious to overlook. Throughout his interview, he praised LeBron's remarkable longevity, pointing out that very few players in league history have remained this productive at this stage of their careers. Even now, LeBron can still score efficiently, facilitate offense, crash the boards, and take over games for extended stretches. Nobody's suggesting he's lost his basketball IQ or ability overnight. Scott's argument wasn't really about LeBron's skill level. It was about everything that comes packaged with adding LeBron James to a roster. In his view, teams today don't just evaluate the player himself. They have to weigh everything that surrounds him, too. That includes Rich Paul and Clutch Sports, the constant media coverage, the nonstop trade speculation, the endless TV debates, and the intense scrutiny that follows nearly every decision a team makes involving him. Whether people agree with those concerns or not isn't really the point. Scott argues that front offices are forced to factor all of it in when making major decisions. Years ago, these conversations barely existed because every franchise wanted a shot at signing LeBron. Teams cleared cap space years in advance just hoping to land him, and owners flew across the country for the chance to pitch him in person. Scott says the landscape looks a lot different today. That's not a knock on LeBron's value. It's simply a reflection of the fact that he's now 41. Every general manager eventually has to confront the same tough question. How much should a franchise invest in a player who may only have a season or two of elite basketball left in the tank? That's just the nature of professional sports. Age eventually reshapes every superstar's role, no matter how legendary the career. Michael Jordan went through it, so did Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Dirk Nowitzki. Every all-time great eventually reaches a point where organizations start planning for what's next instead of focusing solely on the present. According to Scott, the Lakers may have recognized that moment before most people caught on. A lot of fans point to the team's recent roster moves as evidence supporting this theory. Take Austin Reeves, for example. When word got out that the Lakers were prepared to invest significantly in him, plenty of fans initially zeroed in on the dollar amount of the deal. But others started asking a different question. Was this another sign that the front office was quietly building around a new core, rather than continuing to structure every long-term decision around LeBron? Some fans saw something even bigger at play, not just a single contract, but a broader message from the organization. Teams don't typically hand out major long-term commitments to players who don't fit into their plans. If Luka is meant to be the centerpiece going forward, then investing in younger pieces like Reeves lines up perfectly. Building a long-term future around a 41-year-old simply doesn't fit that same timeline. None of this means the Lakers stopped valuing LeBron or forgot what he's done for the franchise. It just suggests their priorities may be shifting, which is typical when an organization transitions from one era to the next. The respect doesn't disappear, the focus just gradually moves elsewhere. Then there's the contract situation itself. Several analysts pointed out that the Lakers never seemed to rush LeBron into signing another long-term extension. Instead, both sides let the situation play out without forcing a quick resolution. Supporters of Scott's theory don't believe that was a coincidence. In their view, the front office may have already settled on its long-term direction internally, and rather than manufacture a big public confrontation, they chose to let LeBron control the narrative himself whenever he decided it was time to move on. If that's accurate, it would have sidestepped unnecessary drama while preserving the relationship with one of the greatest players to ever play the game. From a PR standpoint, a lot of people would call that a savvy approach. Why generate headlines about a messy breakup when both sides have accomplished so much together? Why risk damaging a bond that helped deliver a championship to Los Angeles? Instead, the organization could quietly build for the future while letting LeBron dictate the next chapter on his own terms. Of course, not everyone buys into this theory. Plenty of fans think people are simply overanalyzing ordinary front office decisions.
Critics of this theory point to something more concrete. The modern financial rules governing the NBA have fundamentally changed how contenders operate. The second apron has made teams far more cautious about handing out big money contracts because the spending flexibility franchises once had simply doesn't exist anymore. A single massive contract can ripple through several future roster decisions. Keeping an aging star might mean losing promising young talent, while adding another max deal can choke off flexibility elsewhere on the roster. Front offices now pour just as much time into studying salary cap mechanics as they do scouting talent, because every move carries long-term consequences. Those financial realities are hard to dismiss. Still, Byron Scott maintains that basketball performance isn't the only variable teams weigh. He believes organizations also factor in everything that comes with the spotlight LeBron brings. When he joins a team, virtually every decision becomes a national storyline. Coaching moves get scrutinized, teammates become constant talking points, and even a short losing streak turns into a major headline. Some owners embrace that kind of attention because of the exposure and business upside it creates. Others would rather operate with fewer distractions in a quieter environment. Neither approach is inherently right or wrong, it's just a different philosophy for running a franchise. Scott also touched on Bronny James, another topic that continues to spark conversation. Watching LeBron take the court alongside his son produced one of the most memorable moments in recent basketball history, and plenty of fans celebrated it as a rare family milestone. At the same time, some observers have wondered whether personal circumstances and basketball decisions could ever become intertwined. Scott suggested that teams might quietly weigh questions like these behind closed doors, whether expectations tied to Bronny or family considerations more broadly could factor into future roster conversations. These are questions people continue to debate, but nobody outside an NBA front office truly knows how those internal discussions unfold. That's why it's worth separating speculation from confirmed fact. Teams evaluate every angle before making major moves, but what's actually said in those meetings rarely becomes public. Everything beyond that is interpretation, not proven fact. No NBA executive has ever gone on record saying these kinds of factors have discouraged a team from pursuing LeBron James. Every franchise has its own priorities and its own blueprint for building a winner. Some are more than willing to embrace non-stop headlines if it improves their odds of winning. Others prefer to keep things low-key and minimize distractions. One thing remains unchanged, though. LeBron is still among the biggest names in all of sports. He moves jerseys, fills arenas, drives TV ratings, attracts major sponsors, and generates attention wherever he goes. That kind of influence still carries real value. But ultimately, every franchise's top priority is winning titles, and that's exactly why Luka Doncic shifts the entire conversation. He's heading into the prime of his career, and if you're running the Lakers, nearly every major decision now starts with a single question: what's the best path to building a championship contender around Luka over the next decade? Once that becomes the guiding priority, focus naturally drifts away from squeezing the most out of LeBron's final seasons. That's not disrespect, it's just how long-term planning works. It's a tough reality every franchise eventually confronts. Fans formed deep emotional bonds with legendary players, while front offices are forced to think years down the line. NBA history backs this up repeatedly. The Celtics eventually moved past their legendary core. The Spurs entered a new era after Tim Duncan stepped away. Dallas prepared for the future once Dirk Nowitzki's career wound down. Even Golden State will one day have to navigate this same transition with Stephen Curry. Every dynasty eventually turns the page. That's part of why Byron Scott's comments resonated with so many people. They put into words something a lot of fans had already been quietly wondering. Maybe Luka wasn't just another star addition to the roster. Maybe he represented an actual passing of the torch. If Byron's read on the situation lines up with what really happened behind the scenes, then LeBron's departure wouldn't be some shocking twist. It would simply be the closing chapter of a story that had already been in motion for a while. None of this diminishes what LeBron accomplished during his time in Los Angeles. His Lakers tenure includes an NBA championship, unforgettable individual performances, and one of the most impressive stretches of sustained excellence by a veteran player in league history. That legacy is permanent. It's already written into the record books. But front offices don't make roster decisions purely based on past accomplishments. They make them based on who gives the team the best shot at competing for championships going forward. That's why some decisions end up controversial. Fans tend to focus on the present, while front offices are trying to forecast the future. Sometimes those bets pay off, sometimes they don't. Only time will tell whether the Lakers made the right call here. If Luka ends up leading Los Angeles to multiple titles, plenty of people will look back and call this transition a smart, well-timed move. But if the Lakers stumble while LeBron continues to thrive elsewhere, critics will argue they pulled the plug too early. That's simply how sports tends to play out. Results have a way of rewriting the entire narrative. So, what's your take? Did the Lakers make the right call by shifting their focus toward the future, or should they have stuck with LeBron a little longer? Let us know in the comments. We genuinely love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like, subscribe for more NBA content, and share it with fellow basketball fans so they can weigh in too. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.